I'm gonna just get started. Basically, a lot of people were wanting to figure out what is the current development status, and where we're at with things like multi-chain and next raises, and what the dev team is currently working on at the moment. I don't know if you can touch on those couple of those points. So I'm sure the community were listening to the AMA last time because it's a recording. So yeah, if we can just go back on how much we've developed from then. I think we're working on the A0 messaging bridge and a lot of other things as well.
So last time, around 22nd August, when we were preparing for the community update, so a month ago, we were saying that milestones, voting, audits, repair plans are upcoming. So this whole voting component that is happening after the raise. And this was upcoming, and it actually came. We delivered that. So this is on production. We have the first voting, and we have first milestone correctly unlocked. So common community was very positive about it, and it gathered required amount of votes. So this feature was delivered, and we were declaring that after doing milestones, voting, audits, repair plans, that we will go for cross-chain diamond with layer 0 integration. So this cross-chain diamond is standard that allows us to connect RISE on Ethereum with ERC20 tokens on another chains, and hopefully in future we might be even be able to invest through other chains. But right now we are focused on supporting ERC20 on different chains, and this is why we are using layer 0 for that, because layer 0 allows us to use any EVM compatible blockchain. And we are,
if I'm not mistaken, it's one of the first times that any project has done this, right? It's like a pioneering development. You were speaking about that.
Yeah. I think like other projects are also using layer 0, but I'm not sure if anyone is having, let's say, this cross-chain application which has state of like business logic on different chains and that relies on one or another. But basically, we were developing that, and we are right now, let's say, at the stage when we are testing it, because functionality we delivered, and in this week we are working so Victoria can go over QA, and when we'll go over QA, it means that this feature would be considered as delivered, as done, and
awesome.
we might be able to host cross-chain RISE in future that might be connected with layer 0. So layer 0 is like anything like Polygon, Avalanche, or anything else from the release. There is like 20 or 30 positions there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I will say that from with regards to the voting mechanism, I did it personally. Well, I voted personally on the actual vote, and it was super easy to use. I think anyone who's new to blockchain or new to using wallets and everything like that, the front end was super easy to understand, and it worked really well. We had, I think it was like 80% of the quorum, which is really good. So it all worked out quite nicely. And to show that the mechanism of tranche receive fundraising was working as intended is probably one of the biggest takeaways. That voting and then the progression to actually receiving the tranche of funding is awesome.
Startup received the tranche of funding, so whole vesting underneath works as expected. That's also a good sign.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's move on to something else.
There is just one last thing regarding development, because we are right now currently working on Aleph 0 development, and we are preparing, let's say, some proof of concept version of unofficial bridge.
Yeah, that's cool. I know that Alex was chatting about it when we were talking to another project. They were saying if there was a way that they could use the same kind of protocol or the same type of development that we are implementing. But from what I understand, it's more of a messaging relay. Is that correct?
Yesterday I was speaking about it with Peter. So because we are doing proof of concept, we are not implementing all security mechanism, and we are not implementing all the mechanism related with fee calculation and costs, because right now we have this design that we are building this for ourselves, so we'll sponsor calls to contracts on Aleph Zero. But if we would like to make it open for anyone else, that's possible. We can do that, but that requires extra development. We would need to improve the security, and we would need to implement this fee mechanism that allows anyone to basically pay a fee for the call that will happen on Aleph Zero.
Got it. And I think just so everyone understands, the way that this this is being implemented is really so that when there's raises that are happening on, say, for example, Ethereum, the messaging service or the messaging relay allows the other blockchain to understand what's happening on the raise blockchain, so that anything that with regards to the raise is understood and then implemented in an account on that specific native chain. Is that correct?
Our solution is, I would say, agnostic from the fundraising. So Aleph Zero integration is like a communication layer that you can pass arbitrary messages from Ethereum to Aleph Zero. And we are right now focused only on this direction for proof of concept. Later, we will be also implementing back, so from Aleph Zero to Ethereum. And it is right now solely done for our fundraising purposes. But really, it can be integrated with any application, because it's all about the sending messages forward. And we were heavily inspired by the design of Layer Zero. So, like we tried to prepare similar environment. So it means you can execute any call, you can call any contract, anyone should be able even to use it and pay the fee, and service would be earning some percentage up on the fee, because we can imagine that we need to make estimation that would be safe on Aleph Zero. So it needs to success, and the remainder might go to our pocket.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that, and it just gives another dynamic of service that AngelBlock could potentially provide for other specific chains or other specific projects that want to get involved with this type of
potential.
Yeah.
There's an opportunity here.
Yeah, definitely. So another question that was posed to us was, well, based on what we've been saying, obviously there's a lot of the developments happening around Aleph Zero, it happened around the voting mechanism. When would we see something like gas and toll be implemented or thought about in the future?
I believe right now our focus strongly is connected with delivering as much as possible in the core of the business. So in supporting different blockchains, in bringing as much rises, and in gathering as much investors as possible. But I would say that if we do not have any other priorities after Aleph Zero, we should have open window for gas and toll.
Yeah, that's cool. I think it's important to understand from the community side that for AngelBlock, it's really beneficial for us to try and add as much value as possible, and create like inherent value through being able to work with as many projects as possible. Whether it's not really about like being solely focused on AngelBlock and THOL itself. It's really just about implementing procedures and mechanisms that can help other projects and work with us in the upcoming period. You know, I'll say as well. I think from a business development standpoint, I think this is super important for us to start basically partnering with projects that we think are going to add value to not only AngelBlock but also for us to add value to their projects. You know, like we're looking at projects that are going to be making changes and fixing problems that are happening in the current space. And one or two of those are going to be really interesting partnerships that I think will not only enhance and create a more efficient environment for AngelBlock and its users, but also us giving additional security to certain things like the fundraisers and raising of funds throughout the whole industry. I mean, we've had a couple of instances in the last week specifically where all these centralized exchanges are getting hacked, and we need to try and shift focus to more on-chain investing and for people to be able to use on-chain in a more private and safe environment.
Yeah, I will just add that all this depends, of course, on business decisions. So it's something to consult with Alex and others. But the things which we have remaining right now after the development of Aleph Zero would be to decide what we want to do next. If we want to add functionality to support communication from Aleph Zero back to Ethereum. So, for example, to allow to have to invest through Aleph Zero and to have Rise on Ethereum, and to be able, to support other currencies that USDT. That's potential thing that we could do. Another thing that we could do is we could think about implementing gas in THOL, and maybe even bridging THOL to A0 to be able to use gas in THOL on A0. So that would be so cool. And
there's a whole bunch of things that are super interesting, I think.
Yeah, and other things are possible. It all depends, on our vision. So if we will focus on gas in THOL, that's fine. If we will focus on layer 0 and adding more blockchains, that's also fine. It all depends on our decisions. But after Aleph Zero development, so let's say after the end of November, we should be in very good position to go for another things that might give us value.
I think it's also interesting to note that a lot of the projects that are building on Aleph Zero are some of the best that I've seen personally. When you talk about something like Darkverse, you talk about Liminal and Common, the way that they are going about the development of those specific projects. It's very important for them to have a wider range of services to be able to reach the largest audience. And I mean, if we're creating something that helps that, then obviously that creates value from that aspect. And for us being able to do raises for these type of projects is going to be something good for our community, not only our community, but all the people that join the AngelBlock community and being able to.
We are like batteries included. You are not only going for fundraising, you also receive voting, you also receive support from our Web3 services, which we are hosting, like the Graph Indexer or Aleph Zero nodes. So
speaking of the Graph Indexer, can you, I know that we spoke about it in the last AMA, but a lot of people are asking what it means to become an indexer on the Graph. Can you just maybe expand on that a little bit?
I will try to give similar description as I gave last time. So in general, the Graph is service which helps you to efficiently read data from blockchain. And the Graph supports various amounts of blockchains, mostly EVM based, because they are not the fastest to read. If you have plenty of values on contracts, you need to read them explicitly isolated manner, but thanks to dgraph, you don't need to write any custom views. You can basically query everything from GraphQL. So you're building your query, you can aggregate data, you can sort data, you can filter. You have a lot of, let's say, power tools included for accessing the data from frontend, and it's very fast. And the only issue here is that the Graph works this way, that people who are providing the services, the GraphQL, are called indexers. And those people who are earning on the Graph network, who are providing you node with hosting your subgraph, they need to update to your new deployed version manually. It means that sometimes we needed to wait between 5 minutes, sometimes 1 hour, sometimes even 1 day for somebody to notice that we had a new version deployed. And usually, I would say it's not a big issue if you have popular subgraph, because it means that you can receive the support much faster. People are usually not noticing that in 10-15 minutes, but there were cases when we were waiting and when we were slowed down by the others who we needed for them to pick up the new version of the graph to be able to connect it to the new version of deployment. So we became an indexer mostly to resolve any issues and dependence on third party when we want to deploy a new version. So our deployments are smooth. We can, in a matter of minutes, rise version. Like in 2 minutes, in 3 minutes, we can raise version on our end, and we become indexer, and our subgraph is available instantly. So it improves the deployment, I would say, culture, the whole environment. And because we have indexer, it means also that we can potentially help others. So if there is a startup that wants to also perform deployment of new version, and they want to rely on the graph instead of rely on third party, we can help them to rely on us. They will basically let us know that in this Friday at this hour they want to perform upgrade on pre-production environment or on production environment, and there's no issue for us to help them rise the version in matter of couple minutes instead of messaging on Discord and looking for help there for somebody to pick up their new version of their subgraph.
Well, that's cool. That's really it just makes everything a lot more efficient. I think especially when like you take away the dependency on specifically the graph. It allows you to have a little bit more freedom when it comes to whatever you need to do. I think another like interesting, like, because a lot of the stuff we're speaking about now is really focused on the core development and like the back end and things that people don't really see, right? We've had a lot of focus on front end and UI and the user experience, specifically for AngelBlock and the platform and creating a dashboard that's easy to navigate. What are your thoughts on the way that the blockchain space has taken this on? Do you think that a lot of projects are not really that they need to focus more on user experience and user interface? Because I feel like a lot of people still struggle with being able to navigate specific blockchain dashboards and use their being able to connect their wallet and everything. It becomes more of a hack than everyone wants, you know. And I feel like AngelBlock has focused on trying to make it the easiest experience possible.
Worst thing ever is that even different blockchain environments, and let's compare here EVM, so all Solidity-based blockchains like Ethereum or Avalanche have completely different world by 180 degrees from Aleph Zero. Aleph Zero, or substrate-based blockchains, so like Polkadot, Kusama, any other that are also interconnected to Polkadot network, those parachains, what they are building, it's really completely different world, and like 75% of primitives tend to differ. So you have like blocks, transactions, uncle blocks on Ethereum. You have data which you can encode, events, and so on. On Aleph Zero, this becomes a little bit, I would say, if you go from Solidity to Aleph Zero, you will discover completely new world, new way of defining things. They have construct called extreme sticks, for example, and in general, when you go to an event explorer, you can see that almost everything seems unfamiliar for you. And unfortunately, this is also true even within the same blockchain between different protocols. So user experience is very tough, and a lot of protocols are assuming there is like highly experienced DeFi user is using those. And even if you go there for the first time, you might see that you see a lot of magic fields values which even doesn't mean anything to you, and you need to learn all those syntax and all those languages and all those notation used by the DeFi project. Like sometimes it's really crazy how they go there, and we take a completely different route from majority of the projects. We do not assume that our user is a power user from DeFi, from blockchain. We tend to like choose paths that are more, I would say, narrowed to provide the clear UX for the viewer who might not be sure or certain of something. We assume that our users are not a power user. They are more like enthusiastic to blockchain, but we do not require this knowledge from them. And we tried to basically not only leave them with interface and allow them to use blockchain explorer and wallet to like operate it in on superior level. We are trying to provide like a complete experience that depending on different state will always inform you what's happening, and that will always be transparent to the user. So there is plenty of, I would say, additional work that we done on top of the application to make sure that it's very accessible by anyone. So in terms of UX, I believe we are doing a lot of work there, because we got Asha and Paulina from Properly, and they are doing regular work with Martin just to ensure that the whole world of crypto is understandable for everyone. It's good because I'm more like, I would say, power level user that do not need all those helpful messages and states. But from another hand side, Martin is like mix of both. So he knows some of DeFi, but he also doesn't know a lot of DeFi, and he needs to like sometimes learn on when we go. And it's very good because feedback which we receive from him allows us to create this, I would say, flow that is very good for experienced user, but also is smooth for unexperienced users.
Got it, yeah.
The second part is often forgotten by the different protocols.
Yeah, for sure. I think the biggest thing is that we have to really acknowledge that these newer chains are primitive on a fundamental basis. They, like you say, they're mostly for power users, people that can understand how to use the computer in a way that's different to people that just use the computer for general things. It's not as easy as just logging into a banking app. It's really just about being able to explore and navigate. And not only does that cause issue for new users, but what it also does is it allows for it creates an opportunity for people to build on those specific environments to make it more user friendly and to improve user experience. I think that's specifically what we did. We made it a lot more easy to understand, but also like if you talk about something like LF0 have had common in development for quite a substantial time, where they've not only focused on the user experience from the DEX level, but also from a wallet level to create a more easy to understand flow for people to obviously navigate through and be able to connect their wallets like a Uniswap. But Uniswap at the moment has become more and more difficult to understand because they've now they created a security layer where they obviously implement limits, and it creates a lot more than people are used to. People used to just go, okay, swap, but they've had to improve their security on the wallet level so that people don't get hacked as much, or people aren't allowed to get swapped and everything like that. So for that, it allows the opportunity to create a more efficient market in this level. I think you see it with the banks versus fintech. Banks are archaic in nature, and they don't really do a lot of change when it comes to infrastructure development or kind of newer technology implementation, mostly because it takes a long time for the whole bank to implement it. But then when you see fintech companies take on specific niches that the banks aren't able to create more efficiency, and that creates opportunity for the fintech companies to thrive. So I think it's very similar. It's a very similar environment where we have this primitive nature of these newer blockchains that are running specifically, like if you take the numbers, they're running really efficiently. They're running with low fees. They've got great throughput, large output with regards to transactions per second and finality. But those things that we're busy speaking about, the end user doesn't really care about, right? They just want their money to move from one point to another, or they want something to swap from one point to another. They don't really care how the back end works. They just need to see that it's working on the front end, and the opportunity to provide this user experience and this user interface that creates more more of an easy flow is what people are looking for. And I think that if people understand that, then crypto will move into a space where people understand and they realize that it's a daily use. Like a lot of things that crypto has is a lot more efficient than the traditional space. So it just makes sense for that opportunity to be taken, and I think that's what's busy happening. We're seeing a lot of building during the bear market. I know that a lot of projects, it's been super tough because there's been no money in the market and no liquidity. So we really just waiting on that point where there's a little bit more adoption from the general user standpoint, and I think the UI plays a big role in that.
Yeah, just to give you quick example how it's difficult to work with UI UX. Good understanding could be seen by comparing even how wallets work with AVM blockchains and substrate blockchains. So for example, on AVM, you have MetaMask. You can have either your private key, your address, you can see your balances, you can see your tokens, you can see your NFTs. You can even send money from there, adjust gas parameters and so on. Imagine that for Aleph Zero, like Polka.js wallet, you only have private key and your address there. You do not see balances, you do not see your tokens, you do not see your NFTs, you have no visibility built in. And those things are becoming challenges, because imagine what happens when you have application which needs to work with both. How do you display balances, right? How do you display confirmation for transactions? Like, it all becomes more complicated when you need to work with more, I would say, ecosystems. And what we plan to do is we plan to work with an AVM and even with any substrate-based blockchain in future, probably.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think people are going to be really excited for the next couple of months of what we're building. But not only that, I think people are really interested in what type of raises we're going to be doing. I think what we can say is that in the next month, we're potentially going to do between 2 and 3 raises, depending on obviously how the projects are moving in terms of their development, because it also depends on that. That's the only thing that comes down to fundraising. Is also we have to make sure that it's at the right point in time that allows the project to grow. But I think a lot of one project, there'll be some general projects that we've already shared with the community, like Script and Galaxis. But then there's also going to be a zero native project, Interlock, that we are going to be looking at doing a raise for before the end of October, which is going to be really cool. And I think it just shows that no matter what, during this specific market, we've had a lot of work done in the background, and we've kept working, and especially the dev team. I think the dev team has gone leaps and bounds in terms of their development, and what tools they've been able to create, and it just shows that we focused on the goal at hand. I think that's what's really important.